Alright, so the next feature we can illustrate, which will help us further tackle the idea of reducing repetition, is the idea of nesting styles. This is something that we can't do in plain CSS, but we can use in SASS. So as we scroll down here, we've managed to avoid nesting in a large way because we're focusing on taking a SMAX approach to our styling. That is, wherever we can, we're going to use a specific class instead of using descendant selectors or child selectors. But some places, it makes sense to use those selectors. For example, here in our alternatively colored stacked hero section, here we want to use a white border on the title, and using a child selector was the most meaningful selector that we could use at this point. But what it means is that because we've also styled the stacked hero section alt here, we're copying this selector, stacked hero section alt, right here, stacked hero section alt. With SASS, we can use a nested syntax in order to avoid this. So the way this works is that we're going to remove this duplicated selector here, and we'll copy all of this, and we're going to paste it inside of this element. So let's save this, jump back to the browser and refresh, and scroll down, and we'll see our white border here. So what we've done in our SASS file is we're just nesting anything that's going to have this prepended to it. So if we look at our CSS and how that gets rendered, you can see that we have our stacked hero section alt here, which is the same as here, and then we have the two properties here and here. We have our closing bracket in our CSS. And then in the next style, this is indented just to help us read it a little bit, but it doesn't actually impact our CSS file at all. You see stacked hero section alt prepended here. And then our child selector, stacked hero section title, and then the border bottom color, and then our ending bracket. But in our SASS file, this is just nested. So there's two benefits to using this approach. The first is that we've reduced repetition, that's obvious, but also it's much more clear that there's a connection between this selector here and this selector here. The nesting allows us to see at a glance that there's that clear connection. This also means that if we reorganize our CSS, that these will be clearly connected to each other and we'll move them around together if we need to. Now we can apply this also to our slide down here. You see how we have slide and then slide title, which is a child here. Let's just remove the slide part. And we'll cut this selector, paste it in, and nesting just means that it's within the brackets and that it's indented. So it needs to have both things in order to work properly. We'll save this, and if we check out our styles.css, we now see the slide selector structured similarly to our stacked hero section here, with the base selector here, and then the child selector here. If we hop over to our SASS file, we have one more selector here that will fit inside of our base slide selector. So let's do the same thing. We'll remove what's going to be prepended anyway, and then we'll cut everything else and paste it in here. So again, this creates this visual connection between the slide element and its children. And if we save this and then refresh the styles.css, we'll see slide prepended here to the paragraph tag. Nice. Okay, let's continue scrolling down on this side to see if there's anything else we can simplify.